Is this thing on? Okay, good. What it is, what's up, what's up, YouTube family? It's your boy Marvin Francois, and in this video, we are going to be talking about why you should not consider buying a home if you are currently still in your 20s. We have so many jewels, so many gems, so many values. Why would I say so many values? As if you could quantify it. That's not proper English. We have so many jewels and gems, ladies and gentlemen, that we're going to be dropping in this video, and I'm extremely excited to be getting into all of it and then some. But time is money, and I'm not trying to waste too much of yours. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. So at the time of this recording, I am currently 24 years of age. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, only 24 years old. I know the mustache made you think that I was 36, 2 kids and a mortgage, but no, I'm only 24 years old. And I'm at a point in my life right now where a lot of my peers within my age group are all asking themselves the same question. Should you go and rent an apartment, right? Should we, go and rent an apartment, or should we look to get our very first home? Most of us that are currently in our 20s are probably fresh out of school, whether it be undergrad or graduate, right? Where we're starting to work, we're getting ourselves together, we're getting our life together. We're probably at a point in time in our life where we're getting ready to leave mama's house, or we want to get out of mama's house, and we're asking ourselves, should we go ahead and just rent the 1 bed, 1 bath and call it a day, or should we look to take out a loan and get our own house? Now, I want to be very, very clear with everybody that's watching this video. There are a lot of benefits that come with home ownership, right? Things like equity, creating generational wealth for the generations to come within your bloodline, and of course, flexing. I mean, that's the biggest one of them all. Owning a home is one of the biggest flexes ever. Let me talk to the fellas real quick. I'm talking about something like, yo, fellas, you on a date with a dime. You understand? Y'all finish eating and now she looking at you like, okay, oh my gosh, so what you trying to do? And you look back at her, you tell her, I mean, we could go back to my home, my house, not my apartment, not my room that I share with my roommate, my humble abode where I pay a mortgage on a month-to-month basis. That's a flex. It's mine, I own it. We going back there, let's go. Let's go. Now, while all of that and then some is very much so fine and dandy, I'm here to tell you right now that if you are watching this video and you are between the ages of 20 to 29, you should not even consider home ownership unless you fit one of these 2 qualifications. The first qualification or exception that I'll make to this rule is that you can look to get into home ownership if you are interested in doing house hacking. For those of you who aren't familiar with what exactly house hacking is basically when you buy a multi-unit property, you live in one of the units and you rent out all the other units to tenants, and these tenants pay you rent each and every single month, and you use that rent to cover your mortgage, and you keep the difference that remains as positive cash flow on a month-to-month basis. It's one of the more popular ways that a lot of new investors use as a way to break into the real estate game. And if you guys are interested in watching me make another video where I get in depth about it, leave a comment in the section below and I will make it happen. But we're not talking about house hacking right now. We're talking about something else. So let's get back to the topic at hand. But like I said, if you are between 20 to 29 and you're looking to purchase a home, but you're looking to house hack, then by all means, go ahead and get the house, because you going about it using this method would essentially create a system where you're living for free because your tenants are taking care of your mortgage, and you're able to keep the difference as a passive income stream that's coming in each and every single month. So it's a win-win situation. The other exception or qualification that I will make to my rule about home ownership not being a valid idea if you are between the ages of 20 to 29 is if you are getting ready to settle down. You know, you met a nice little young lady or a young man, right? Met a nice young lady or young man. Y'all hit it off, met at Red Lobster, y'all hit it off. You know, one thing led to another. Now you're getting ready to settle down. You're getting ready to kind of just, take it easy. You want a consistent spot, right? That you and this loved one can raise your juniors and your mini-me's so that they can pounce up and down the house. Right? Without any worries, right? You and your little youth them, lick shot the fire. You and your little youth them, you want a little house in the backyard for them? If that's the case, and then you're still in your 20s, then okay, I understand buying a home. However, if you do not fit either of these 2 qualifications, then I personally would not recommend for you to get into home ownership if you are still in your 20s for a couple of reasons that I'll get ready to outline right now. Reason number 1 being stability, right? So if you are watching this and you are currently in your 20s, chances are life for you over the course of the next couple of years is going to be anything but stable, anything but predictable moving forward. You would like to believe that the job that you have right now that you love so much and is paying you very, very well is the same job that you're gonna have over the course of the next 5, 10, 15 years, but chances are that's probably not gonna be the case. You would probably like to believe that, the city that you live in right now is the same exact city that you're gonna live in over the course of the next 5, 10, 15 years, but for all you know, an opportunity may present itself out of state, right? You may live in New York and an opportunity may present itself in Texas, Louisiana, California, Hawaii, you understand? Like, any of these places, and if that opportunity presents itself, it may force you or put you in a position where you may have to uproot and move from where you are to that location. The possibilities are endless, but the point that I'm trying to make in all of this is that whatever life is for you right now, if you are still in your 20s, it may not be that within the next 1 to 2 to 3 years. And in the event that you reach a point that you need to change situations or locations, it's much easier for you to break a lease if you are renting an apartment to get another apartment than it is if you bought a whole house and you had to now get that house off your hands. The second reason why you should not consider home ownership if you are still in your 20s is property management. Everybody want to own a home, nobody want to talk about property management. Everybody want to own a home, but nobody want to talk about property management. I'm gonna say it one more time. I'm gonna say it into the mic. Everybody want to own a home, but nobody want to talk about property management. You see, when you rent an apartment, the only bills you have to worry about is your actual rent payment and utilities, right? And in the event that something breaks, you could just call a super or a landlord. They come fix it, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. It's not your problem. Life goes on, you live happily ever after, right? But when you are a homeowner, any and all problems that come, because any and all problems will come if you own a home, these problems don't fall on anybody else's shoulders but yours because it's your home. You would like to believe that during the tenure of your home ownership, the only things that you will have to worry about is your mortgage and utilities. But now that you're a homeowner, you have other things to consider. What happens when the pipe bursts and you got to get it replaced? What happens when the boiler stops working and you have to get that replaced? What happens if some crazy tropical storm, or even if a storm doesn't come? What happens when you have to replace a roof, right? There's damage on the roof and that needs to get replaced. All these things now fall on your shoulders. They are your responsibilities as a homeowner. Going back to a point that I made earlier, this is where house hacking can come in handy, because if you own a home but you have a situation where you live in one of the units and rent out the others, in the event that these things pop up, these hiccups happen during the tenure of your home ownership, you now have some form of cash flow coming in from these tenants that you can use to kind of help to pad and deal with a lot of these issues that will come. Whereas if you aren't a house hacker and you own the home solely and swiftly by yourself, now you have more problems on your head top, on your mata. You understand me? My family owns a couple of rental properties, and I actually remember not too long ago, I believe it was about 2 winters ago, we had a situation where in one of the rental properties, one of the investment properties that we owned, the boiler broke, right? It was a water situation inside the boiler cracked, and we had to pay $6,000 to get it replaced. Are you ready for that if you are trying to become a homeowner? The following summer, right after that winter, we had a situation where we had some leakage coming from the roof. We ended up finding out we had to replace the entire roof. We had to pay, I believe it was anywhere between 8 to 10. Actually, I'm gonna say it was on iron. It was really more like $10,000 to $12,000 to get the roof replaced. If you are looking to become a homeowner, are you prepared for that? Especially if you're looking to become a homeowner and you're not an entrepreneur or you aren't an investor and you just work a regular job, where if you were an entrepreneur investor and you had other streams of income coming in, this could now supplement for whatever issues or hiccups that popped up that you would have to pay for. But if you just work a regular job, and there's nothing wrong with a regular job, and if you have a regular career, and there's nothing wrong with a regular career, and you just are focused, you just are relying on that single stream of income, when these hiccups come, now this makes you take an even bigger hit, right, than most other people would, because you now have to dip into this one stream of income to now take care of all these problems that will arise. But I know I got a lot of stubborn followers. I know there's gonna be a stubborn Sally that's watching this video from the other end of the screen. You hear me talking my jargon, you hear me spitting my spew, right? You hear me talking my talk, and you watching this, and the entire time you thinking to yourself, you know what, Marvin, screw you. You a crook, you a scammer, you a phony, you a liar, you a hater. You just don't want me to have a house. I'm gonna go get a house. I don't care what you said. I'm gonna go buy a house because I want to have a house. So you go and you get the house. A couple years later, you come back, be like, Marvin, you were right. I shouldn't have bought the house. I should have rented an apartment. I want to get rid of the house. Now what do? I'm glad you asked, Laquanda. Allow me to break it down. So looking at these numbers, right? Let's say you purchased a house for $300,000, which, by the way, if you purchased a house for $300,000, you probably don't live in New York, because in New York, you buy a house for $300,000. You're a liar. You probably bought a closet. Can't get a house over here for anything less than like 1 mil, 1.2, 1.3. You bought a house for $300,000. Where you bought it at? Idaho? Dakota? Rhode Island? God bless you, brother. Anyways, you buy a house. Let's say you bought a home for $300,000, right? And let's say you stayed in that home for a length of 5 years, right? And during that 5-year period, your house appreciated 3%, right? Just throw numbers out there. If your house appreciated 3% over the course of that 5-year stay, that means that after your 5-year stay, your $300,000 home would now be worth around $347,000, right? And let's say you want to go about selling it the conventional way of using a realtor at a real estate firm. You would now take your home, which is now worth $347,000, you would sell it through a realtor, and typically realtors would want about 6% of whatever the selling price is, meaning that you would take 6% and you would multiply it by that $347,000 price point, meaning you would have to pay the realtor just about around $21,000. And you would take that along with the original price of the mortgage, subtract it from your price of the house after 5 years, meaning that in total you would basically be walking away with a profit of $26,000 after selling the home. Now, why is that number so important? I'm glad you asked, Deshaun. Let's look at what it would be if you had stayed in the house instead of 5 years, if you had stayed in about, let's say 10 years, right? So if you stayed in the house with those same exact numbers, if you now lived in the house instead of 5 years, you lived in there for 10 years with the same appreciation rate of 3%, that house would now be worth $403,000 after that 10-year period, right? With the same realtor percentage. But now let's say you went about selling it the same conventional way, right? Using a realtor. If you use a realtor, you would have to pay the realtor 6% of that selling price, which would be around $24,000. Now you take the realtor fee, the original mortgage, you subtract it from the price after that 10-year period. Instead of the original $26,000 profit that you would have walked away with if you had only lived in the house for 5 years, if you lived in the house for 10 years, you would actually end up walking away with just about around $80,000. So we're talking about a $50,000 plus difference in profit just for staying in the house an additional 5 years and letting appreciation do its thing, you feel me? Now, the only reason I'm sharing these numbers with you is just to once again emphasize my point of home ownership only makes sense if you plan on staying there for the long term. And the fact of the matter is, if you are still in your 20s, you would be hard pressed to tell me or just about anybody else that you know for certain that if you buy a home today, you know for a fact you plan on staying there for at least the next 7 to 8 to 10 years. It's just unrealistic, ladies and gentlemen. It just is. And by the way, even with that around $80,000 price point you would have walked away with if you stayed in that house for up to 10 years, you still kind of have to put an asterisk next to it, because let's say during that 10-year period that you lived in the house, you had to spend an additional $7,000, just about $7,000 a year when it came to property taxes and also the maintenance that came with the house. That would mean that over the course of that 10-year period, you spent up to $70,000 in maintenance and property taxes for this home. You take that $70,000, you subtract it from that $80,000 you would have walked away with from keeping the house for up to 10 years, you're realistically walking away with around $10,000 in profit from having this home as long as you did. That's $70,000 in additional costs that you would have had to have paid in property taxes and maintenance of the home over the course of that 10-year period could have been used to invest in other assets and cash flowing investments if you had just rented an apartment. But in closing, listen, I don't want to come off as a negative Nancy. I'm not trying to sit here and discourage anybody from buying a home. I love, generational wealth and equity and those photos that y'all be taking on Instagram where y'all sit on the kitchen counter and you got the bottle of champagne in one hand and the keys in the other hand, and you type up the caption, hashtag mama I made it, hashtag look who's down, look who's up now, hashtag started from the bottom, now we here, hashtag. I'm all for all of that stuff. However, we have to look at the reality of the situation. And the reality of the situation is I'm all about encouraging you guys who are watching this video to make smart financial decisions. And personally, I just don't think that buying a home in your 20s makes sense in the long term. But maybe you're watching this and you disagree. Maybe you're in your 20s and you own a home right now and you got some choice words for me, right? You got some things that I said that I missed, or maybe I misconstrued, that you could help clarify. Listen, I'm all for a little bit of discord. I like it. I love it. If you like it, I love it. And if that's the case, let's talk about it. In the comment section below, let me know. Am I right? Am I wrong? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have some questions, comments, concerns? Let it all be known in the comment section below. If you're in your 20s and you own a home, or you don't and you're looking to get a home and you disagree, let me know in the comment section below. And for all the grown folk who are watching this, I'm talking about like 30 to 35 and up, and if you own a home, am I right? Am I wrong? Let me know. Let's talk about it. I'd love to get into it. But that concludes it all for this video. I sincerely do hope you received a lot of value in any and everything that I talked about. And if you have, please do not forget to take a second, take a minute, take an hour out of your day right now to just go ahead and slap that like button. Also, hit that subscribe button as well for any and all things personal finance and investing content to be shown on this channel in the near future. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm Marvin Francois. Y'all have been good. I've been great. This has been amazing. And as always, thank you and God bless. Peace.